Animal cruelty, dog fighting, neglect of animals, abuse of animals. What mankind sometimes does to its best friend and other pets is absolutely beyond belief. Crime Stoppers of Houston takes it seriously and has developed a prevention program. I know this is good news for a lot of you. And with us today is Crime Stoppers of Houston Executive Director Rania Mankarious. Welcome, Rania.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Just thrilled to have you here. Just for our listeners that have never heard of Crime Stoppers.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the organization.
What's so interesting is we find that people have heard of us, but a majority of the population actually has no idea what we do. So we'll go into a room and we'll say, well, how many of you have heard of Crime Stoppers? And we'll get 100% hands go up. And we'll say, okay, great. How many of you know what we really do? And they'll, you know, it's like one hand, and it's usually our board member. Yeah. And that's it. And what does that look like? What does that mean? So, yeah, we are, first of all, we're a nonprofit. We're based in Houston, Texas. We're a nonprofit. We're not a part of the police department. We're not a part of the city of Houston. We certainly work very, very closely with both of those entities, but we're an independent 501c3 nonprofit. We've been around for 35 years, and our goal and mission is to solve and prevent crime. And forever that has meant working with our incredible media partners, putting out information where law enforcement needs an answer to a case or some information, and asking the community to call in with tips. We get that information, we pay a reward. Well, over the last, 3 to 5 years, we started to say crime stopping has evolved. And, it can be more than people just picking up a phone and calling. It can be education. If we just take the time to talk to people about human trafficking, child abuse, domestic violence, animal cruelty like we're doing today, school catastrophes, why do they happen? How do they happen? If we can focus on education, we can mitigate crime before. We can stop it before it can even happen. So that's what we've really started to focus on, in addition to having that incredible tip line and asking people to call in. And that tip line is very, very successful. We're also focusing on education.
Well, I want to talk about the reason why we're here today, about animal cruelty. When you see someone, what actually consists in your mind of something that needs to be reported? Is it just a dog on a chain? Is it just, it's a gray area, because a dog on a chain can be fine, but a dog on a chain with limited movement in the heat for hours with no water is cruel. So it is about using your best judgment. I often sometimes say, what if it were, and I know you can't really compare, but a human, where do you draw the line? You have to think of these animals. They are parts of our community. They are the voiceless. They're innocent. They have no say. They have no advocates if it's not for us. And so we have to step in and say, look for the obvious, of course, broken bones, emaciated pets. As we discussed, are they outside for a long time? Is it cold? Is it hot? Do you see a blanket? Is there water? Does it look like someone's caring for them? To some of the things that are a little bit more subtle, and use your best judgment. I think what's really important, and one of the reasons we try so much to talk about it, and we do, we'll get people that say, what? They're animals, and their owners really can do whatever they want with them. And you know what? That's not true. First of all, Texas law protects them and provides statutes and laws in place to protect animals. But also animal cruelty, those people that engage in animal cruelty do a lot of other things in the community that you need to care about. There's a high crossover rate between animal cruelty and domestic violence, a high crossover rate, almost 90%, with child abuse, with gang activity, with dog fighting, which is illegal and dog fighting for sure
has so many repercussions. So to answer your question, and it is gray, but we've got to care about it. We've all got to care about it.
And we are a big state for dog fighting.
We are.
I mean, it's underground. I know that, but it's still there. We know you're still there. We're looking for you. And the same thing with puppy mills and I guess kitty mills, not so much on the kitties, but on puppies. I have friends that go in and rescue some of these poor animals. Sometimes these sweet little female dogs, they're left in a cage where all they do is get water out of a little hamster thing, so it rots away their teeth. They never move from this cage except to give birth to these puppies and to feed their babies, which get taken away from them and sold at higher rates. And it's something that's going on all across the nation.
how do you, I mean, how do you stop something like this?
It's the power of education. So when you hear, adopt, don't shop, and you see that, and you see it now in celebrity dialogue, and you see it coming out in media and everywhere else, together, we're getting people on the same page that we may not be able to go and arrest every one of these people, but we can start putting them out of business. You can tell people stop buying them.
And, as we were talking with the dog fighting, a lot of these people are just not very nice people. And even if you know something is going on, do you still have the anonymity?
Yes. Anytime you call Crime Stoppers for anything at all in terms of the tip line, that 713-222-TIPS, you are anonymous. It doesn't matter what you're calling. They don't ask your name. If you try to give the name, they're going to hang up on you and say, call back again. They don't, when they record your tip, they don't say he said or she said or anything like that. We encourage you to call because a lot of times, and if you look at the cases here in Harris County, there can be 15 people involved in a dog fighting ring, for example. There can be up to 100 people involved. People are making donations of $100 or bets of $100 up to $80,000. It's a huge industry, and we've got to get ahead of it because it's getting out of hand.
Well, so, of course, Rania, we know that Crime Stoppers best as the tip line, and do you have other programs for this educational aspect?
Yeah, so you do. You know us for that tip line, and it's incredible. It's solved 33,000 felony crimes here in Houston and apprehended about 25,000 felony fugitives, but there's so much more. Our Safe Community program is where we really engage the community in crime prevention education, where we talk about animal cruelty, human trafficking, domestic violence, internet crimes. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And we do the same thing in the schools. We have a safe school program, and everything we do is free. But we'll go into the schools and we'll talk to kids about teen dating violence, about drugs, about bullying, about sexting, about bringing weapons on campus. We've had a lot of people say, "Oh, well, Houston's so lucky. We've never had a Columbine high school. We don't get, Newtown, Connecticut, the horrible shooting that doesn't happen in Houston. We're so lucky." And at first I would kind of be quiet, and then now I say, you know what? We're not lucky. Crime Stoppers of Houston since 1997 has been quietly and efficiently and effectively in the schools talking to these kids. And together we have solved almost 2,000 school cases and removed almost 300 weapons before they can be used against our kids. We just don't advertise it. So there are many potential tragedies that could have happened, but we were able to get ahead of it because the kids trusted us. They knew they could call us. They'd be anonymous. And they could keep their campuses safe. So there's a lot we do beyond the tip line.
Rania Mankarious, the Executive Director of Crime Stoppers on the Open Journal here. It's 21 minutes in front of 9 o'clock. You're tuned to Pacifica Radio. Rania, I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. For years, the face in the community, whenever something big came up, including one of the unsolved crimes that a $10,000 tip never quite translated into somebody getting tipped off and pulled in on this AK-47 round that went right behind the engineer's head in the other room across the glass from us 8 years ago in August. The face of Crime Stoppers for many years was now Judge Catherine Cabanis. Okay, and so a lot of people remember her because she was very present and very upfront in the community for many, many years. You're a relative newcomer to the scene in terms of being the executive director. So what's a little bit of your storyline from whence have you come, and how did you find yourself in this position?
Oh, boy. How much time do we have?
21 minutes.
Okay, good. I will use every second. So I, sadly, and don't kick me out, but I'm a Boston native, born and raised.
We love Boston.
Do you really? Okay, let me stay, please. I'm a Boston native, born and raised, and loved New England and all the horrible accents and the snow. I loved it all, but I met Chowda. I loved it all. I'm a Boston native. What can I say? I actually didn't hear the accent for the longest time until I moved here, and I go back and I say, my gosh, there's a horrible Boston accent.
Do you guys know you talk funny?
Yeah, I'd never, ever heard it before. But I did, my husband was in Boston doing his residency at Mass General, and I met him there, and we dated throughout his residency, and he said, okay, I want to marry you, but I'm moving back to Houston. And I said, what? I said, would you ever stay in Boston? He said, no, I love you, but I love Texas more. And I was like, wait a minute, what on earth? And I'm sure he was kidding, but he did come back to Texas, and sooner or later I did follow him. But my background is in law and therapy. I have a dual degree and a master's in marriage and family therapy and a law background. And when I did a lot of media in Boston. And when I moved to Houston in 2006, actually 2004, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I was stuck. And a friend of mine in New York said, Houston is one of the most philanthropic cities in America. Look in the nonprofit sector. And I said, really? She said, yes. And so I found Crime Stoppers, was looking for an attorney with marketing or media experience. I said, all right, that's interesting. I'll go see what that is. And I went and met Catherine Cavanis, and she had just started. And so she said, I'm looking for someone, but you're overqualified. And as I sat and talked to her, I said, this program is sort of combining my love for social justice, but also for people. And I said, I'd really love the opportunity to stay and work with you. And she said, I only have an internship, and it's about $10 an hour. And I said, I'll take it. And so I went home, and I called my husband. He said, how did your first interview in Texas go? I said, it was great. I took a job. He said, really? What is it? Are you a lawyer? Are you running in something? And I said, nope. I'm an intern getting $10 an hour. And I heard like that deafening dead silence of what did you just do? But I fell in love with the organization. I really wanted to work with Catherine, who's now Judge Cavanis. And we worked together very closely up until the point that she went to the bench. And so when she left, the board said, we want to find a new ED, and they asked me to apply for it. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And so I did, and they said, you've had the love and the vision for a long time. You've worked with one of the best, Judge Cavanis, and so they were very, very fortunate for me. It was very, very fortunate for me that they offered me the position, and we've hit the ground running. And we try to speak to people wherever we can, be involved in media wherever we can, reach the community, expand the programming. We're building the first ever Crime Stoppers headquarters in the world right here in Houston, not too far from where we are right now. It will be the Dave Ward Crime Stoppers of Houston facility, and we're very excited about that. And we have incredible partners. Houston Pet Set's the reason we sit here today for now to talk about animal cruelty, and we have a long list of other incredible partners that allow us to do what we do, and we want to see that continue to grow.
I love that it's Dave Ward.
Yes.
What an institution that man is.
He's the best. And he'll call me from time to time, and I hear him on the phone, and it's like I've got to just pause for a second because I'm like, I can't handle it. And my husband will one time say, who are you talking to? Your face is bright red. I'm like, oh, it's Mr. Ward. I can't say Dave. So it's really wonderful.
And it absolutely, positively is. And how did you decide to name it the Dave Ward headquarters?
We thought a lot, and it was very important to me and to the board that every part of this building had meaning. And Dave Ward was the first reporter for our organization. Back in the early 80s, he joined the Exchange Club and bringing Crime Stoppers here. He was the inspiration behind the reenactments with the producing team at KTRK. And I was looking, even just over the last couple of years, I'm reading articles from the New York Times in 1983 that say, look at what Crime Stoppers of Houston's doing with this young, dapper reporter, Dave Ward. He gave us a voice. Yeah. And, we have this incredible relationship with the media, and that's because we've been blessed to have such wonderful involvement by our media partners. When it came to really putting this down and figuring out who it would be, we just felt like the man who gave us the voice and kind of set us out into the world needed to be the man that would have the name of the first ever headquarters anywhere. And this is his 50th year.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was really, yes, exactly.
That's just awesome. That really is.
Rania Mankarious visiting on the Open Journal here from Crime Stoppers, where she is the executive director. We're going to check in with Patrick again briefly on traffic. Back in a minute. Stay with us, please.